From starting at such a small little package, this thing really does fill out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Bam, 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 bam. This thing is sick. Listen guys, it's here. It's time. You've been asking for it a lot. The Pyxis rig build, and we're gonna break it down. Now, a lot of you have been asking about, in particular, the Montana film that I shot. Now, a couple months back, I shot that film in Montana on the Pyxis, but the rig build was huge. There was a lot going on, and a lot of you guys were asking me to break that down. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go side by side, get your beer, get your soda, get your pop, your coffee, whatever it is, wherever you are. We're gonna go side by side and build this out for that large studio rig, give or take a few things that might be a little different just because of product stocking issues. But we're gonna get us there, but also it's not realistic for us to have such a huge rig. For example, I was just in Moab with Kofi and Brandon last week and I brought this, and I didn't want to carry that whole thing around the desert. That's just stupid. So we're also gonna strip it down a little bit later as far as like, what does this look like as just a bring pretty much this setup, run and gun on your own, and then that's it. So really, before we even get into it, the build of this new box style camera is fantastic because you can see there's mounting points on every single end of this camera. So it just gives you a great foundation to just add everything and anything that you want. And for reference, I do have the L-mount version of this Pyxis, and I did that because I wanted internal D&D still, so I did so with getting this Mofash Poco. I just bought this, I think it was like $400 or so, worth it to me, to be able to get PL with internal ND, and then it just slides out to this little guy if you need, and you can swap it out to clear as well. But before we do get into it, I want to say that I'm going to link everything down below for the convenience of all of us here for all of the nitty-gritty parts. But also, if you want to give me one Christmas present, please use those links because they're affiliate links and it pays me out for Christmas. That way I can buy my dog a bone. Anyway, let's get into it. First thing is this cheese plate here. That's something that I'm really fond of, and this is part of the Pyxis Condor Blue cage. So that is kind of the foundation that I'm running, is the Pyxis Condor cage. I don't know how many are out there, to be totally honest. I haven't done too much research on cage options, but I do know that the Condor one worked on the film for me and I did like it. This is something that's probably gonna live on my rig always, regardless of if it's stripped up or stripped down, just because it's lightweight and it just allows a few more rigging places, whether it's for handles or anything for that matter. So that's our first guy that I've got there. And then we're just gonna go ahead and start on with the top plate. Now, like I mentioned before, some stocking issues. There is another top plate that mirrors like this. I'm using a bottom plate just because they didn't have the stock of it. And the Pyxis is pretty much a mirror image top to bottom, so it makes it nice. Now, I will say, if you are gonna run the Hollywood handle, that big one that I had, this won't work for you. You need two top plates because it needs two NATO rails. You're gonna see when we get to that later on. I don't have it, but I'm gonna show you guys. So there's our top plate done, and then I'm just gonna mirror that on the bottom. We're just fabricating the kind of the bones and the base of this rig right now. So something small to note, and I'm sure is across the board, across all the cages, I just like how flush and wide this base is. It just feels satisfying regardless, not that important. So the next thing we gotta add here is the ribs. Not barbecue ribs, but they will do. Now there's a couple different variations that we can do for this. We can have these rosettes on that bottom half. We can have them on the top half. We can also adjust kind of like the angle of the way that these rosettes are placed, and I kind of made a mistake in the first time that I rigged this up. So you can see right now, the rosette is just flush with the body, which is what I want. But the first time that I built it out, I put the wrong one on, so the rosette is offset with the body, and you can see it's kind of on that 30-degree out. Sometimes you may like that if you do want the offset, but I put it on, I was like, this is stupid, and I talked to Brandon at Condor Blue, and I was like, oh, it's just user error. And these ribs are gonna be fantastic for just adding a lot of different options, whether it's just extra mounting or grips, which we're gonna add on later, or even anything NATO rail as well. Right now, this is just all part of this Pyxis base cage. And then we're gonna add on some more accessories later, which really make this come to life. Bam. Okay, cool. Check this out. So we've got our foundation here. It's pretty much fully protected. We've got ribs there. You could add 2 more ribs here. I don't have them, and I'm just not gonna opt to do that. So let's go ahead and start adding on what is next, which I would say is a Let's throw a base plate on there. Base plate and a dovetail is gonna be our next move. Fan-frickin-tastic. There we go. Keep it lightweight. I'm just gonna use carbon fiber rods. A larger rig build where you get a lot going on, I would maybe recommend some like metal ones. And then immediately, guys, I've got these too. I got this, guys. This was so cheap from Home Depot. I think it was like $4 a piece. And it's just, I rigged it out for all of my rigging stuff, like quarter 20s, 3/8, whatever, lens supports, all of these different things. I've got 4 of these. I would definitely recommend going to Home Depot, or just, I'll try to link some of them down below as well for you to get. But this is, instead of just having it in bags, try your best to be organized. And then I'm just gonna add on this dovetail as well. Dovetails are great for, dude, honestly, they confused the shit out of me when I first saw them. It's like, what are these for? And one thing that I see is best for, here it is you've got that plate right here. One thing of just extra protection, a totally flat surface, protection between whatever's on the rods, but also say it's on a tripod. Where is it? It's right there. Say you're on a tripod and your tilt keeps going down forward. You can set it back on that, and you're not gonna have to like undo the rods and all of that. You just have all this flexibility right here of, you know, your center of gravity. And to me, that's a great selling point. So what do we have right now? We've got the full Pyxis cage with the ribs, side cheese plate, then we've got a Condor Blue base plate with some 15mm rods, and then we've got a dovetail. That's where we're at right now. So we need some power. What I'm gonna be using is just this Condor Blue V-mount base plate. Perks are that it's got 2 D-taps in it, which is honestly fantastic. And they're also reversible. So I'll show you what that looks like. Today I'm rigging my camera out and my cable's coming from here, but the power thing only allows you to do that. Well, this is reversible. So now I've got the benefit of bringing it that way, or I can flip it and plug it in that way. One thing I'm not sure if I like is they got this power switch that's right here that's kind of in this floppy little metal thing. To me, I would just be like, put it just open and exposed, but I understand you don't want to hit it or anything like that. So we're just gonna keep that off right now. So one thing I like to do is just keep a battery in here. Right now it's just conveniently an FX6 battery, but I keep that in there in case the V-mount dies. That just gives me one more security blanket, I guess you could call it, of power. For reference, these are 12-inch rods that I'm using, and they could be a little longer. But can't they all? I always need a few more inches. My mom watches this, I should probably shut up. Perfect. All right, so we've got the new V-mount plate on here as well, and we're starting to look like an actual rig, my friends. Figure out what's the next move. What would I do? I'd probably do a top handle. So let's actually, I'm gonna talk about that for a second. So in the Montana film, you saw that I had the big Hollywood handle that was new, that flipped up, that was awesome. I'm getting that. I don't have it yet because it's new. So what we're gonna do is just this SSD top handle. I would prefer that Hollywood handle for an actual production, but hey, we can't always get what we want. So we're just gonna add this guy on here, which is just this Condor Blue SSD handle. You can run like a SanDisk SSD into that. I'm not going to, I'm just gonna do CF Type B that comes with it. But now we're starting to come along with a whole handle setup as well, but we don't have any glass. So let me just put a lens on. For reference, I'm just gonna throw on a Blazar Kato. I would throw the Nisi Athenas on, but the Mofage Poco and the size of the back of the element of the Athenas doesn't actually fit. So I can kind of really only run anamorphic on this setup. And then of course, oftentimes with rigs like this, I'm gonna be throwing on a Mattebox. So let's see. This is just a screw-on guy here. Ever get scared that there's glass in it, but you can't tell, so you do it the absolute worst way possible? I guess this is a good time to mention, guys, if you're gonna rip on me in the comments for my rig not being neat and tidy, I come from G&E. I want a rig that works and is functional as a DP, not something that's absolutely perfect and tucked in, I don't know, whatever. It's like chess and checkers, I guess. So what I've got is this is the Condor Blue Mattebox, still a prototype, but you can narrow down the stages. There's too many here. I'm only gonna run one layer of glass. I don't necessarily know how to do that. I think it's easy, but I'm stupid. So that's just gonna be what it is. But you know how your Mattebox is never straight and it bothers you? There is a little level right there that at least helps get you there. Okay, we're starting to get there. Now I would say we need a battery. What do I got in here? Just gonna grab a small rig for right now. So the next thing, and again, no rhyme or reason for the order of this, but I don't like all of this weight hanging off of this L mount. So I'm just gonna throw in a lens support right here onto the base of our L to PL adapter. One with a handy dandy notebook here. Yeah, so I like these because I can just screw them in. So what that's gonna do, I try to put this on any lens that isn't absolutely tiny, just because it's gonna take the strain off of this little L screw-on mount, and now you've got just support that's helping match. I could add another one over here, but these lenses aren't that huge. So I'm just gonna trust that the PL is gonna do its job and just keep it locked in there. So this is our, let's go to the top down. Probably scratching up the entire screen. But here's our setup here. We've got the lens support in there. And then, you know, it's starting to look like a full-on rig. I would definitely be happy with this minus the monitor. So let's go ahead and throw a monitor on and then see what we're gonna work with. Here we go. The monitor, what we got going on here is this NATO to NATO here, and then I just put a NATO in there. It's got like RE locator pins, so you're not doing the whole finicky rotation thing. There we go. I've got the Small HD 702 Touch is my 7-inch monitor. I think it's, I try to stick with Small HD as much as possible. I like the system of it. I like how it's trustworthy, and the false color is nice on it as well. Yes, you got false color in here, but I'm curious to see. I don't know anything about the Blackmagic monitor, so don't ask in the comments because I don't know anything yet. I'm sure it'll be good, but I don't really know anything about that. I need some camera power, some DC power as well, which is going to be one of these. Now we're getting into like the kind of customization stage of things. So whenever I'm running like a studio rig where I'm on sticks or out for the day, whatever it is, I know I'll be throwing on probably like a Teradek transmitter or a focus pull system, monitor power. It's a lot of power that needs to be pulled, and I freaking hate NPFs. I avoid them at all costs. So I'm always throwing on like a D-tap hub. So this actually has 4 D-taps plus one of them on the Vmount Plate as well. So these right here are the Condor Blue mini locks, aka absolute lifesavers when it comes to saving space. I'm always like throwing friction arms and all that, and it's bulky and it sticks out. All I'm doing is sticking this guy onto the cage and then this guy onto this D-tap hub, and then, you know, I'm just gonna show you. This goes on here, and this we're gonna screw in to the back of here. This is quite literally all you do. That's all it is. Just keep that there for a second. It's just lose whatever, it's locked, unlock it, pop it in. Bam, just like that. So that's great for transmitters, monitors, all of that. These mini locks, you can never have too many of them because they're freaking awesome. So we'll do cable management afterwards, but now this is gonna be our power source for everything coming out of our Vmount Plate. We gotta power the monitor. We also have to power camera. Camera is the only exception where I'm just gonna come straight out of the plate here, just because I don't like going like away from the battery and then in through the hub and then back to the camera. So I have requested already from Condor is a right angle limo pin, so it comes out, because that's already annoying me and I'm probably gonna break that soon. So a right angle limo pin is probably on the way. Let's do some quick cable management as I talk about this build thus far. So I use a mix and match of these here. We've got Armando's Mondo ties, which hard screw into the body. Good for some things, but honestly for speed, I love these sprigs as well. They pop right in and they're good to go. You don't have to screw it in. If you're done with it, you just kind of screw it on out. Straight through there. I'm not even gonna feed it through the other one. Now these two, yeah, I want to deal with that. So actually what I did, totally forgot, is I came from this guy and I threaded it through the coil. It takes a second, but just work its way up. So that way it's just kind of interwoven. All right, so that's what we're looking at. So I just coiled it in, so now it's just pretty much one coiled wire. This is gonna go off that way onto the camera. This is gonna go in there. I'll probably tuck this guy right over here, so it's at least tucked away. So then, like I said, I'm just gonna pop a sprig right here. Now that guy's just gonna stay a little lower. Okay, so there's that, so now I'm gonna stick this. So now, this is gonna be nice and tucked right in there. So I don't have a proper focus motor on me right now, so we're just gonna kind of pretend. But what I'll do is stick a rod out from here and then have the rod drape down. So let's talk through that as I'm actually doing it. So this little guy is super fantastic. This is just a 15mm like rod thread. So I'm gonna screw this in. Now that allows us to take this little short stack, this little 3-inch rod, and this can just thread right in. Our focus motor can just hang off of that. I don't like having them low, it's just weird and finicky down there. I like to overhang my focus motors, so that's just gonna hang right down there. Again, I don't have one, so we're just gonna pretend that there is a nucleus or some sort of focus pole that's gonna be sitting right there off of that. So my friends, I feel like we have reached ourselves a very good first checkpoint. I would call this a fantastic studio build or a sticks build, something where this camera is gonna be living solely on sticks, on your tripod for the day. And that's pretty much it. You're gonna be living in the studio. You're not gonna be needing to control it or anything like that. But we'll break it down real quick. Again, it's this base cage that's living right here. We've got the Pyxis cage with the 2 ribs, and then we built that off of this base plate here, which we had just 15mm rods, and we threw the dovetail on the bottom as well. And then we just threw this Vmount plate on the back of it. We threw a lens support on there. I threw on a Mattebox. And then we had a top handle here with this little NATO to NATO guy up top to hold the monitor. Threw some ties in there to cable manage all of that down. Put on our D-tap hub for all of our power, and that's pretty much what got us to where we are now. It's a solid sticks build, but there are a lot of times when I'm running easy rig, let's call it. So we're gonna modify this a little bit for like easy rig and shoulder really quick with just some small parts, which are these rosette arms. So these rosette arms I use a lot depending on the build, and I'm gonna kind of start this based off of, let's call this like an easy rig build. So for me, I love to hold my easy rig like I guess a machine gun. So I'll take one arm and just stick that on the rosette. You see these rosettes coming in handy now. And then I'm gonna take one of these guys, these rosette grips, thread this guy in here. But then that's nice that I can just adjust it however I need and want, and then I can also swing this out. So that's one of my grips, but then I like to counter that with one up front, so I kind of have a nice balance on the center of gravity. Perfect. So now, this is what we're looking at. So if I'm running this on easy rig, this is how I'm gonna use it. And then I've got the eye bolt that goes straight in here, and then your easy rig's gonna come out from overhead. So that's a pretty good center of gravity, and you can actually adjust this off of your center of gravity as well if needed, which is actually pretty nice. I just thought of that. But this is how I personally like to run my handheld easy rig setup. I feel like it gives me a good like jam it into my shoulder if I need to. I can pull it back, I can push it forward. It gives me everything that I need. But guys, we can't forget about media. These, like I said, I'm not running media into the SSD handle. I'm running it actually in the body. And these Pyxises take CF Express Type B. So for that, I'm using these Angel Birds for that Angel Bird CF Express Type B. It's what I'm using in all of these cameras right now for my Sonys with the CF Type A and my SDs as well. So with cards, you don't want to have to think about media. It's one of those things where like the less you think about it, the more important it is, and that's the case thus far with Angel Bird for me. So that's what I'm running in here, up to 1800 megabytes a second. So it can, or 1785 to be specific. So 6K OpenGate Q3, whatever it is on this, it can handle it. Don't forget your media. I had to run this 2 weeks without filming anything because I didn't have any cards. Sometimes I don't like easy rig and I want to do shoulder rig. So that is actually going to be pretty minimal changes. We're gonna kind of get us most of the way there, and then I'll tell you about it the rest. But I'm gonna take off this back grip, and then I'm gonna be sticking on one of these grips here. You see the vision? Come on, find the hole. Don't say it, be mature, guys. All right, are my lenses wide enough for this? We need a shoulder pad, which we have. This just came with a rails attachment. I've got a dovetail on there. I'm just gonna take the dovetail off for this with this guy here. Let's hope this is in a good fitment. I've actually never rigged this as shoulder. So we're just gonna hope that it's in a good place. Here's gonna be a shoulder rig setup. And is it? Oh, it's actually in a great place. Now this is where I'd want, and you've got these quick releases here as well. So if you need to finick with it. But this is exactly where I'd want the freaking EVF to fall right here, because then I'm just living right here. We're just gonna keep the monitor up there. I mean, if I had an EVF, I would throw it right here. So Blackmagic, please send me one if you're watching this. But yeah, so this would be a killer shoulder rig action kind of going on here. It's compact. My center of gravity is a little back heavy, so I would fix that. But pretty much this is what your shoulder rig is gonna look like. And like I said, we're missing a couple of things like an EVF. If this were to be not EVF, I'd get a smaller monitor, like a 5-inch, and I'd just take an arm and just stick that down right here, or down here even, just that way I can watch that way. But for me, when I'm shoulder, I really want to be like eye in a cup. I totally forgot. I don't have a transmitter on here, but if so, I'd rig it on one of those mini locks, probably right here. So this is what we'd be looking at for a full, give or take the few things I missed, a full shoulder rig build, easy rig build, studio build is something like this. I'm probably missing something, so if so, comment down below. But this is essentially what it's gonna be looking like. This is also where I'd want this Hollywood handle, because I wanna be able to grab it from all the way around here. And again, it's not here yet, so I can't use it, but it would come around, loop around like that. And then I'd be able to like pick it up from here, throw it onto my shoulder. It's not that big of a build. Feels pretty nice. Bam, shoulder rig, take it off, just like that. AC can take it from there. I like it. So whether it's shoulder rig or easy rig or sticks, whatever it is, I'm gonna have something that's about this size, about this build as my camera build for this Pyxis. I think that it covers all the bases. I'll run this all the time. This is, dude, $99. It's like, it's not the best manual focus bolt in the world, but it's always been reliable. It's this Tilta Gen 2. I'm gonna link this down below as well. But I'll just run this as my manual focus when I'm not, when it's just me. So something to keep note of. We're actually gonna talk about that in a second when I strip this down. So let's just talk about what I'm gonna do to strip this down and what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like as small as possible, as portable. It's gotta be able to break down really quick and easy. So that's exactly what I was looking for when I went down to Moab. So this is where we're really starting to strip it down. And it's always the question of like, how much do we want to strip it down? And for me, when I was in Moab, I knew that we were hiking a few miles, and I was like, every single ounce matters. I'm gonna leave this on for right now. It's just a base plate for tripods, because I'll probably use it later. But even like this rib, don't need it, get rid of it. So I'm leaving that one rib so I can just take this and just jam it into me right here. Okay, but the other day when I was in Moab, I had a top handle and then I rigged the monitor to that. I didn't really love it, and I found myself using this all the time. So what we're gonna do, instead of the small HD 7-inch, 7 inches is just way too big. Pause. I'm just gonna stick on, this is a Hollyland Mars M1. It's the only 5-inch monitor I've got, honestly. I've got this here. And then I'm gonna use the batteries that I hate the size of. Small rig, if you're watching this, make this smaller. Give me one half the size, because this runs all day long. So this is their just whatever NPF batteries. And then this is my small form factor guy here. And then I'm just like barrel throwing at that point. I don't even have focus. If you want, you can stick that, like we said, stick this right up here and then have your focus kind of offset here, just kind of floating like that. Definitely an option. For me, it's like every ounce matters. So I'm just gonna jam it into my chest right there. And this is gonna be my run and gun rig. So the fact that you can strip something down this small, oh, and then I'm running it just off the Sony BP battery, and then the Angelbird card in here, obviously. So it's really stripped down to like one top plate, one rib, one grip, like anything that doesn't need to be there is gone. So It's really crazy to me that this can strip down both big and small. It's like FX6 small and then Alexa big. And that's something that I like the versatility of. So I just wanted to walk you guys through the entire rig build. I know it was a long one, so I appreciate you guys sitting with me and as I kind of broke this down and built it up. But I know I'm not an AC. Leave a comment down below what you would do differently, because I honestly, I just need the tips. So I know these aren't perfect rig builds, but they're ones that work for me, and I wanted to share that with you with the pieces that I used for them. I'm gonna link everything down below. Remember, it's my Christmas present. If you guys get that, helps me out just a little bit. But anyway, I love you, thank you. I will see you guys in the next video, and happy holidays.